Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Welcome back to Rinkside Rundown. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm excited to be joined by Lexie Bertelsen, a forward with the Etobicoke Dolphins. Lexi, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Even better now that we finally get to have you on the show. Been really looking forward to this.
Me too. I'm super excited.
Good. I'm excited to learn a lot more about you, share your story, and a good story starts with how everything started. How did you get involved in hockey? What was it about hockey that kind of attracted you to the sport from day one?
Well, I actually started figure skating because my mom used to be a figure skater, but that did not last long at all. And I have a brother, so I grew up watching him playing hockey all my years growing up. So I'm like, I don't want to do figure skating. I don't like this. I want to play hockey. And I feel like I was always like an outgoing kid growing up, and I had like a lot of friends, so I liked playing a team sport. And I also just really like scoring goals. And yeah.
I can't do that when you're figure skating. So,
No.
no. What was it about figure skating then that you were like? I know obviously you've mentioned you like to score goals, and it's more of a hockey is more of a team sport. Um, Figure skating isn't so much that. What was it most of all about figure skating that you were like, you know what, Mom? I love that you did this, but this just isn't for me.
Um, I didn't find it like that competitive. And like obviously it was competitive, you were going against like other people, but at the same time it's like I wanted to be a part of something with other people where I can share like my accomplishments with and do it with my teammates and make those friendships.
Okay, and you kind of mentioned the thrill of being able to score goals. Was that what drew you to forward, or did you have the opportunity, as many young girls do, they rotate through the various positions? Was it something like that, or were you like, it's forward, or I'm not doing this at all?
It kind of was it's forward and that's it because one like the scoring, but I also just love like skating super fast and everything. So I don't think being a D ever crossed my mind because kind of just like being in the offensive zone more than the defensive zone.
Well, then I guess that's another reason why you never took on goaltending too, right? Like when we
Yeah.
talk about not wanting to be in the defensive zone, that's the only spot you are, right? So, and you can't, I mean, you can score goals, but you can't score goals as a goaltender, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, you mentioned your mom, you mentioned your brother. So obviously, being on skates to whatever, various different kinds of skates, but to be on skates is something that runs in the family. Could you talk about what it's meant to you to have family behind you, especially as, they know the sport, they know, what it's like to be a hockey player, what it's like to be a figure skater, all those sorts of things. How has family helped you throughout your career?
A lot. um Family, I learned a lot more about family since I like moved away and started billeting. The support, you don't realize how much like they do for you until you really look back on it. And honestly, I don't tell them enough, but like I really appreciate everything they do for me, like driving me to all my practices that are like so far away, coming to all my games. Like I don't think my dad missed one game when I played in Ottawa, and it was like a 6-hour drive, which is like crazy to make every game. So I'm really appreciated of that. But especially like I realized family isn't just like blood. Like you can have like people who feel like family who's not just your blood related. And I realized that when I started billeting, and it kind of just made me have like a whole new perspective on what family really is.
I love that. And I think the other thing, first of all, we can clip this part of the episode so that you can just share this on repeat with your parents so that they know how much you appreciate them. That's totally fine. I love that. Because I think, when it comes to being an athlete, of any sport, the people around you definitely sacrifice a lot, right? Like to get you to and from practices, to, as you've mentioned, having your dad drive 6 hours to watch you play. Like when you think back to that, and we'll get into your collegiate career and what will be your collegiate career in just a moment. But when you think about how you've progressed forward and you've found your passion and your family knows how passionate you are and they love to see it, what does it mean to constantly have that support, to have them at the rink, to have them around you cheering you on, I'm sure the loudest in the stands? What does that mean to you, and how do you think you're able to maybe grab onto that and to appreciate it?
Yeah, well, it like I said before, it means so much to me, but having like knowing that they're always going to be there for me no matter what happens, like in my ups and downs of my hockey career, I always know like I can count on them to bring me back up and help me through like the challenges.
What about the billet families as well? I think this is unique because I haven't had the opportunity to connect with someone who has, spent a lot of time with billet families. Obviously, that's something that does happen, but
Mhm.
what what's that dynamic like when, like you said, they're not blood related, but they are absolutely rooting for you to be successful and they invite you into their home. What's that like as well?
Yeah, so I stayed with this family for 2 years and they really became like honestly my second family. Like the girl's still my best friend. I still talk to her every day and I still talk to like the parents and the brothers. And I think that the way they like invite you in and make you feel like you're their own child is like super important for when you move away like at such a young age. And that like really helps you play like your own game and stay focused on hockey and not really have like those doubts of like, oh, I miss my family so much because there's a family you're living with now who love and care for you just as much as your own family back at home.
Oh, that must feel like, especially, there's a lot of, as you mentioned, moving away from home for the first time. That in and of itself can be a really scary thing, right? Like you're going somewhere
Mhm.
you're not necessarily familiar with, but it must feel nice to be able to know, like, I have a home and I can just focus. Like, I don't have to bring those distractions to the rink.
Yeah.
I can just leave that at home. I know I've got supporters, but I now can hit the ice and I can just do my thing. Is that fair?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. When we think about, and I think I kind of had maybe one answer for this question already, but when you reflect on your career thus far, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face?
Well, the one, like I said, moving away, but
Yeah,
I think
that's the one I thought
yeah,
you were gonna say. Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
think that one has taught me the most lessons though, so I kinda appreciate that, and then my second one would probably be injuries. The first year, I got injured twice, and I was, like, really down on myself, and I found it, like, hard to stay motivated, and that was, like, the year of, like, getting scouted and stuff, so I was, like I always had, like, these doubts in my head going on, like, "Well, if I don't get back to playing, like, am I gonna get seen? Am I gonna have this?" And I kinda just learned that everything happens for a reason, and your path is completely different than the person beside you, and that kinda just helped me with that and grow.
So I think, when we talk about injuries and stuff like that, I think unfortunately it's a reality that can happen anytime you're playing professional sports.
Mhm.
When you're injured and you're as you've already shared before, you're as competitive as you are. What does How do you think being injured and having to step away from the ice, not being able to contribute the way that you want to be able to contribute, not to be able to play games, be at practice, all those sorts of things, how do you think that's helped to shape you as a person as well as a player?
Um, I think it's taught me a leadership role in a way on how to be a leader, not just on the ice, on the bench, but also off the ice. I learned how to like communicate with the players better, seeing like how they react on the ice and stuff. And I think that really helped being able to, when I got back to playing, help my team and motivate them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what does let's talk about, you mentioned leadership. Let's talk about that. You have a great, that the leadership core at the with the Dolphins is an incredible core. What does leadership mean to you then?
Um, I would say creating a culture that everyone feels like they can be themselves in, and that no one has to worry about trying to be someone else and try to fit in. Like, we all have a role, we all play our part, and also just being there for people and being there for your teammates and supporting them and listening to what they want and hearing everyone's opinion and trying to not just use the leadership role opinion, but hear from everyone else and then make up a decision from there.
Yeah, because you are also part of, like, directly part of that leadership core, right? So as an assistant, right? So um when you and I know that as you've mentioned earlier, it's about the team, right? It's not necessarily just about an individual, but at the same time, it's worth celebrating the fact that you got that letter. So when you got that letter, do you feel like it changed how you approach the game, how you approach connecting with your teammates, or do you think it, like, how was that?
Yeah, well, it was an honor to get the A obviously for Etobicoke because they're such a great organization and there's been so many great players coming out of there. So I don't know if I like changed my game. I think I just looked at it at a different approach in a way on how I was gonna like help my teammates and step up to help them when we face adversity.
Good answer. That's fantastic. That's what a true leader does. So that's fantastic. Um, when we think about, as you were growing up, you started in figure skating. That didn't, that wasn't exactly where your heart was. You moved towards hockey. When you made that transition to hockey, and especially now too, as you've continued your career, who were some of the role models that you had growing up, and maybe they were influences, they were actually like role models? Who were some of those people for you?
Um, well, obviously Poulin, but also my brother and Mark Messier, just kind of like a random answer, but my dad, we would always be like at the cottage and he'd be like, "Watch this guy, like he's so tough, he's a great leader, like you want to play like him." And so I kind of just grew up watching Mark Messier all the summer and all winter, so that's how I kind of got my number 11 as well. But for my brother, I would say he kinda taught me, like, the ins and out of hockey and how hard you have to work to achieve, like, the goals you want to achieve, and my competitiveness is definitely from playing mini sticks with him in road hockey, and just seeing how hard he works, I think, yeah, he's probably my biggest role model.
I have to say that I did not have role model equals Mark Messier on my bingo card for you. So that was definitely a surprising answer. So, but that's great. I mean, you can't think of it like, when you think about leaders, like he's right up at the top there, right? Like they have an award named after him. So in all
Yeah.
fairness, That's a good bar to strive for. So, as you've continued your career, one of the things, and I've seen it firsthand, especially with the Etobicoke Dolphins, but we can speak more broadly. Obviously, they're not the only team that you've played for, but you like when it comes to being an athlete, being a part of the community, being connecting with the community, giving back to the fans, that's a big part of being an athlete. And I think, as a fan, we often just see what's happening on the ice. We don't necessarily see all of the community involvement. What does it mean to you to be able to give back to the community, to stay connected wherever you are, whatever organization you're a part of?
Yeah, it means a lot to me because I always think back to when I was younger and what all the older girls were doing then, and I remember, like, them going out of their way after their games to, like, sign autographs, and it made me, like, happy to have someone to look up to, and I think it's exciting that I can do that for younger players now because I'm just thinking of what I wanted when I was a little girl and, like, now I'm seeing them in my role and they have, like, the same dreams, and I think it's just super cool.
Okay, so we just spoke about role models, influences. I want to throw it back. I'm just going to a little sidebar here. I want to throw it back at you to say, what does it mean to you to know? Speaking of, this is a perfect segue, so I had to take it. Um, you grew up without really many, especially female role models, right? Like, yes, there were some, but you infrequently saw them. It was typically at national, every 4 years at the Olympics or, those kinds of tournaments. But now,
Mhm.
like, what does it mean to you where people are like, I want your autograph. You inspire me. You are my role model. I want to talk like, what is that? Has it really sunk in, or does it feel surreal knowing that like you have young girls now looking up to you as a role model?
Yeah, it's like you said, such a surreal feeling. This past summer at Team Canada camp, we did, this little, um, like, games at the gym with these little girls, and at the end, they were, like, all asking these questions like, "How'd you get here?" Like, "You're so good," like, "I wanna be like you one day," and they're like, I don't think, like, until right now, I've actually, like, thought back on that and was like, "Wow," like, I actually made it there, like, I, like, accomplished my dream, and these little girls are gonna be doing the same thing one day, and I think it's just crazy how you never really, like, realize you've made it until you look back on it, but I think, now having that feeling and listening to those girls, like, hear and say that is just crazy.
And speaking of, connecting with the community, connecting with those and inspiring the next generation, what have been some of your favorite experiences in connecting with the many, many fans of yourself as well as your organization?
Um, Definitely just seeing how supportive they are and how much they love the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've experienced it firsthand at some of your events, and there are a lot of people that show up. There is a lot of support. So, it like as a player, does that support off the ice help motivate you on the ice?
Oh, for sure. Like, seeing and knowing that these people, like, some you don't even know half of them, and they're, like, rooting for you, they want the best for you, it really means a lot to go out and play for them, and it kinda makes you have something to play for and want to make them proud.
I love that. Great answer. I love that. When we talk about your career, we've spoken about the Etobicoke Dolphins. That's where you currently are. Great organization. I'm a little bit biased there. I'm not going to lie. But you've also played for the Nepean Wildcats, which as an Ottawa resident, I saw that and I was that was like, oh, she played here? That's crazy. I totally missed the opportunity to see you earlier on in your career. Um, what like what was it like to be a part of those organizations, those programs, and maybe how did they help to shape you into, sure, we can talk, not to dismiss how important it is on ice, but also as a
Yeah.
person.
Um, well, I think Nepean helped me grow as a player, but also as a person. They taught me a lot of lessons, like what it was like to be in the league and how important it is to be a leader. But I also like learned because that was like my first 2 years. I learned that, or I tried to appreciate being in this league because you can't get like any better competition anywhere else. And it is also very demanding to play in the OWHL. So having that competition, I learned a lot of life lessons through that. And I think it definitely made me prepared for the next level. But during like my 2 years in the PN, there was two girls, Ashley Lard and Avery Norman, and they like kind of took me under their wing my first year and like I said, taught me what it was like and how to be a leader. And they also answered any questions I had about like what's to come up and what's going to happen later on in my career during the playing in the U22 level.
So then I have to ask the follow-up question. Um, when you think about what they were able to give to you and how comfortable they helped you to feel, do you find yourself paying that forward to, your new teammates, some of those people who are some of those young, young girls who are coming up and taking their, their first strides in the OWHL?
Yeah, I think I sometimes actually catch myself saying things that they said to me just because it meant so much. And I think that if other people are like struggling with what I was going through, then I can help them as well. And I think that just being there for people and knowing that you support them is the best you can do for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big step, right? So to know that someone's there, you're, like you're not doing this alone. That's a really, really good feeling.
Yeah.
Um, you have a favorite quote, and I this really resonated with me, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So your favorite, or at least one of your favorite quotes, is you don't always get what you wish for, you get what you work for, which I think is like, it may sound really simple when you first, like, yeah, okay, you
Yeah.
get what you work for, obviously, but I think there's a lot more to that. Could you talk about why that's one of your favorite quotes?
Yeah. So I've kind of always gone off of that, like from a very young age, because I realized that, like being small, I have to work a lot harder than a lot of other people to like be stronger and just keep up with them. So I think having this quote really helped like motivate me to work harder than everybody else and dream big because why not basically. But you also have to, like, nothing's gonna come easy in life, and it's not even just like the hockey side of things this quote has helped me with. It's like in school as well and just like my personal life, you have to work hard no matter what type of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons that I really loved when I stumbled across this as one of your favorite quotes. Why I wanted to talk about it was that, this doesn't just apply because you're an athlete. It applies whether you're an athlete, whether you're not, or for you as an athlete, whether you're on the ice or you're, wherever you might be. So that's why I really love that, and I love the why behind what it means to you. That's fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Um, Last year, you had the opportunity to represent Team Ontario Red, right? And I wanted to know, being involved in those kinds of opportunities, what has that, what were those experiences like? And what were some of the things that you took away from those experiences that you've now been able to apply to your current career with Etobicoke?
Yeah, well, obviously, it was such a surreal moment. The first time I, went out to Dawson's Creek, I kinda was just, caught up in the moment, and I didn't really, realize what was happening and how, cool this experience was, so, um but when I got back from the tournament, I look back on it, and my biggest takeaway was be in the moment and be where your feet are. I like, the first time I went there, I realized I was always, I kept looking forward to, what's coming next instead of taking in the real moment and, like I said, being where your feet are, and I think now I find myself enjoying the moment more because of that experience and not looking to what's coming next and just doing what's in front of me.
So, did you think that would be, and maybe this is like a crazy question, but did you think that would be one of your biggest takeaways from that experience? Because I feel like if you were to ask me, I'd be like, no, like it's the getting to compete at that level, like that would be the big takeaway.
Yeah.
Was it surprising to you to come back and say, oh, actually, the biggest takeaway was not what I thought it was going to be?
Yeah, very much. Cause I was expecting, well, my first thought on the plane ride home was, "Wow, everyone was so good, this is crazy, I can't believe I just competed against the best girls in Canada, holy crap." But I was actually in shock how I took that and, realized that's my biggest takeaway of it because normally I just think about winning. But I thought it was nice to finally learn that lesson because it's helped me a lot, not just after that tournament, but later on in my career.
Yes, and once again with an excellent assist. So I appreciate this because this is a perfect segue into what is next for you. So this is your last season in the OWHL before you embark on the next phase of your, I'm sure, long and successful hockey career. I'm confident. You're about to begin your collegiate career, and I wanted to know broadly. Now we've talked about kind of some of the the organizations that you've been a part of. Again, Nepean and Etobicoke, but just like being a part of the OWHL, the compete level, the the great programs across the board that are a part of this league. What are some of the you know how do you think the time in this league has helped to prepare you for that next step in your career?
Definitely being a rookie playing against older girls and like I said, being the smaller one, it's definitely helped me mature as a player. And the league has challenged me and pushed me to become a better player. And to compete in this league, you're always having to work on little things to improve your game because everyone is basically at the same skill talent as you. So you're just trying to find that 1% to get better.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by sports nutritionist Melissa Bufunos of MB Performance Nutrition. As a former competitive hockey player turned nutritionist, Melissa's mission is to help the next generation of hockey players optimize their diets and health so they can perform their best both on and off the ice. Ready to dominate on the ice? Melissa's new course, The Hockey Nutrition Blueprint, is available now. If you're serious about learning how nutrition can impact performance and building actionable nutrition strategies based on your unique needs as an elite hockey player, learn more and sign up at melissabufunos.com/course. That's MELISSABOUFOUNOS.com/course. And make sure to use code Rinkside to save $50 off the regular price. Thank you to Melissa Bufunos for sponsoring this episode. And now, back to the show. Let's talk about that next step in your career. You've committed to Boston University. No big deal. A great organization to be a part of. So that's going to be really exciting. And so, first of all, congratulations on that. I can't I'd be remiss if I didn't just say congratulations. How does it feel?
Thank you. Really amazing, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. So give us a bit of a peek behind the curtains. Obviously, I'm not an athlete. I've never gone through that process. What
Yeah.
was the process like in selecting which school you were going to go to, and was it always NCAA or Division One, or did you consider maybe going to U Sports?
Um, it definitely was always, like, D1 ever since I was little. I That's kinda been, like, my dream. Um, and I always have, like, loved Boston. It's as ever since I was growing up. Me and my brother's favorite, like, school team was Boston University. So when I got that call from Boston, I was ecstatic about it, and, um, it was a bit stressful, the whole thing, but it was also, like, one of the best experiences you're gonna go throughout, like, your career, and, um, I think knowing that like, I visited Boston a couple times with, like, my family, and, I just love the city, and going there as a family was super fun, so I can't imagine playing hockey anywhere else, but yeah, that was yeah.
So, what are you? I just feel like this is a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm going to dive in. What are you most looking forward to? I know it's like it's still another year out, so there's still time for it to kind of like maybe you'll have a different answer a year from now. But what are some of the things you're most looking forward to about joining Boston University?
Definitely getting to know all my teammates, but, on the hockey side, playing at a even more competitive level and developing as a player and a person.
Okay, so off the ice, then you kind of alluded to a couple of things there being like growing as a person, but also away from the ice. What are some of the I've never been to Boston. What are some of the things that you're most looking? I know. I'm sorry. What are some of the things you're most looking forward to about just like you're going to be living in Boston? What are some of those things as well?
The Red Sox games for sure.
Okay.
We're literally, like, right beside, and when I was on my visit, they said, like, we get, like, really cheap tickets in the Green Monster, and I've always wanted to go in the Green Monster. I've been to so many Red Sox games, and I have never sat there. Um, but also the food is really good on campus, and there's so many things to do, like, you can go to a Bruins game, you can go to oh my gosh, Celtics game, like, now the Fleet games you can go to, like, there's so many things to do in Boston that you don't just have to focus on hockey, you can also have a really good personal life while enjoying that university life as well.
Yeah, it must be nice to know that you're going to somewhere where it's like, you know what? It's not just like I can escape the world of the ice. Even if I'm going to
Yeah,
another place, like, watching a Boston Fleet game or a Bruins game or something like that, you can just like, it's not all about what you do on the ice. You can just kind of
mhm,
escape it. So I can see that being a real big appeal to a place like Boston. Plus, like, let's be honest, it's Boston. So, and again, I've never been, but from the pictures I've seen, it looks
yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah, and there's, like, Cape Cod, the beach too, so even if I just want a little, like, getaway to the ocean, you can go there as well.
So, are you a seafood fan then?
No.
Oh boy.
No.
Oh boy.
Well,
I
okay.
thought
I
for
like
sure you were going to say yes, because that would definitely be a big, another big draw for Boston.
I like salmon and I like sushi, but other than that, I'm not a big fan.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see in a year and a half from now. We'll see if that's somehow if they've kind of converted
Change.
you to it, yeah, to a seafood fan and broadened your horizons. Um, when you look back on the process that it took you to get to where you are, just speaking specifically about the choosing the right school for you, what was the right fit, all those sorts of things. When it comes to your collegiate career, what advice might you have for players who are maybe like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do? I don't know how to approach this. I don't know what are some of the things I'm supposed to look for. What advice would you have as someone who has just gone through this process?
I would definitely say do your research on each of the schools. I think that was super important. Um, and go visit the schools. Like, my biggest thing was I wanted to feel like home when I got on campus, and that's kind of what happened when I went to Boston. But also reach out to coaches, try to have like face-to-face conversations. I know there's like some rules to play in that, but try to talk to them as much as you can and get to know them as well, so you kind of know what you're getting into and stuff, and try to figure out what their philosophies are of the team and what they want.
That's great advice because I think it's, what I liked about that answer was it was twofold. It covered what you're doing on the ice. Obviously, you want to have a good connection with your coaching, the potential coaching staff. But also, I think what's important too is understanding how important it feeling like home. Like in theory, you're going to be
Mhm.
there for maybe 5 years, right? So you want to feel like you're at home because if you're,
Yeah,
it's about pushing yourself, sure, but also it feels nice to, do what you love, but also feel comfortable doing it.
exactly.
Yeah. We mentioned the Boston Fleet earlier, just a moment ago, and I want to talk about the PWHL as a whole. Growing up, you at least early on didn't have there wasn't really, when you thought about your career, it's like, okay, great, I love this thing, but I get to do it until college, and then it is either I go overseas or I hope to be able to make the national program. Like that was really basically the only two options. Now there's the PWHL, right? This is a great
Mhm.
opportunity to be able to continue bringing the best of women's players into one league. When you think about that, when you think there's like a professional league that's like, it's right there. What does it mean to you when you think about continuing your hockey career?
It means a lot to me because I still have something to work for and something that I dream to play in. And not only for me, I think, but also for the younger girls, it gives them a chance to see what it's like and see how, if you want something, work for it. Like, all the girls who are playing in the PW now all had to work so hard to get there and um, sacrifice so much to be able to play in that league. And I think it just shows that you have to work hard to get there no matter what.
Yeah, and it must feel like it must also be such a driving force for you, right? Like not to say that you wouldn't have worked just as hard knowing that, you may have to play overseas or do your, whatever it is that you choose to do in university or in college rather. And then just like, play for the national team. Just, I say
Mhm.
just, not just play for the national team, but that's the only other option that you had. It must be such a driving force and inspiring for you to like really push yourself and really challenge yourself. Is it fair to say that's kind of a mindset that you might have?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And also just to see like the opportunities these players are giving like girls my age and girls younger is really crazy. And um I'm super appreciative of them.
Of course, yeah. And so I want to wrap things up today. Not that I want to wrap things up because this has been a great conversation. But as has become a tradition with this show, we wrap things up with a fun game of, and I need to figure out a better title for this, but I call it 20 questions, but not 20 questions. It doesn't really roll off the tongue very well. So it's a working title. So we'll get better at it. I promise. Suggestions are absolutely welcome. But I'm going to ask you some questions to just get to know you, continue to get to know you both on and off the ice. There are going to be some really profound questions that I worked really hard on. There are also going to be some like random silly ones that I think are just going to be fun to go through. Are you ready to take this test?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I always say that I'm glad I'm on this side of it because I don't know that I would have an answer for any one of these questions. So I want to know, let's start off with a profound question. not to brag, but I'm going to call it a profound question. What are you most proud of from this past season?
Um, Probably becoming a stronger leader. I learned to help players around me become better and working on the team results over my own. And that's kind of helped me with my own results.
This absolutely spoken like someone who was early on decided figure skating, individual sport. I want to go to a team sport. That was very much a team answer, and I love it. That's what hockey's all about. I love that. Great answer. Um, for people who have not had the opportunity to see you play, how would you describe your style of play?
I would say I'm a 200-foot player with good hockey IQ.
Okay, I like that. I like that. That's a high bar. I've seen you play, so absolutely, I agree. So, what does the off season? I say off season. It's like they're as an athlete, you're let's be honest, you're always doing stuff. But what does an off season look like for you? And how do you think, as you continue to progress through your career, how do you think it's changed, or has it?
Yeah, it definitely has changed. When I was younger, I worked out a little bit, but it wasn't really on like my top priority because I didn't really need to at that time. But as I started like playing in the OW, I got I realized that I need to be stronger fast. So I started working out like 5 days a week in the summer and I started shooting every day. And I think that's really helped me. And I also started skating and working out with older girls, which helped me push me and show where the bar is and where I have to be.
Okay, so I realized that I should have asked this follow-up question uh, 40 minutes ago. So forgive me that I didn't ask this. But what kind of transferable skills, like how do you think starting off in figure skating has helped you as a hockey player?
Well, definitely my skating.
Yes, that's
That
fair.
might
Yeah.
just be like a bad answer, but I would say it's helped me, like, if I break it down, my edges and stuff, and just being more stable on my feet, being the small player I am. I think I have a strong base, and yeah, I think that's helped a lot.
Okay, I was confident your answer was going to be edge work because that's kind of what I think of when it comes to a figure skater.
Mhm.
So, but it's I mean, especially if you want to get stronger, get faster, edge work is an important part of that. People don't necessarily know that. So you have a great foundation, so that's great. Um, how do you balance your life outside of hockey with your involvement in hockey? Like, how do you balance, as someone who just works? I can't imagine also having to do something else at the same time. How do you do that? How
Yeah.
do you find that balance?
Well, it's definitely not easy, and I've like struggled with it the past couple years, and I like have tried to find different ways, but I think trying to find like even 30 minutes a day of just seeing my friends has helped a lot and relaxing, like having just some downtime. And then in the summer, I would say going to my cottage is kind of like a getaway for me, and it's like a good way just to balance hockey, but also being able to relax.
And there is likely nowhere more relaxing than a cottage in the summer, in the sun. It would just must be such a, like, you can just like a great opportunity to just recharge, forget about what happened on the ice, and just
Mhm.
relax. I live vicariously through those people who have cottages because it's so incredible. Um, I want to know, what is your go-to pregame meal?
Oh, definitely pasta and chicken, but it has to be penne noodles.
Oh, so it's very specific. Why penne?
I don't even know. I kind of just had it one game and I had like the best game in my life, so I haven't switched it.
All right, so that answers the R. Is Lexie Bertelsen superstitious? At least a little bit. At least a little
Very.
bit. Yeah. Do you have anything on the pasta? Is it like red sauce, butter? What is it?
Yeah, That part doesn't really matter. I can have like whatever sauce, but normally it's red sauce.
Hmm. Okay, fair. When you look back on this past season, even now into this season, as you've obviously started the season with the Dolphins, who owns the dressing room music, and what do you recall being most frequent on that playlist?
Um, I would say Rachel Piggott or Sydney
Okay.
Sawyer. They kind of always are switching who's on it. Oh, and normally practices, we play a lot of Zach Bryan. We're a big Zach Bryan team and we love singing to him. But game days, I'd say it's like either throwback bangers that get us hyped up.
Okay. What would first one that comes to mind? What's the first throwback that comes to mind? No
Oh,
judgment. No judgment.
oh, I can't even think right now.
I will say, as someone who has had the opportunity to meet Rachel Piggott, it doesn't surprise me to hear that. First of all, it's country. Secondly, she also owns the Ox on that one, so
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me. Um, Speaking of music, for you now specifically, if you were to place, and this you may have already answered this kind of, I guess, but if you were to have like that you have one song that you can play for the rest of your life, and anytime you turn on, you want to like you turn on your music, it has to be this song. What song do you think that would be?
I want to say Summer of '69, but I have to go with Revival by Zach Bryan.
I see. I knew it was going to be a Zach Bryan. That's why I was like, I feel like this is a silly question now because I knew it was going to be Zach Bryan. So I mean, not a bad choice, not a bad choice at all. But I saw that one coming a mile away. I haven't heard that song though, so I have some homework to do after this. Um, what's something that remains on your bucket list?
Going to Greece with my friends.
Oh, okay. Any specific spots that you want to check out, or is it just like go and you figure it out once you're there?
Go and just figure it out.
Yeah, well, when you're there with friends, I feel like that's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's something that people may not know about the one and only Lexie Bertelsen?
I'm a big wake surfer. I love wake surfing. It's like my second favorite sport, if you want to say. And maybe that I got stung by a jellyfish.
Wait, what? Okay, what? When did that happen? Just kind of casually drop that in and hope that I'm going to move on to the next one.
I was in Mexico this past May and we went snorkeling and we got like back and everything was fine and then me and my brother were sitting on like this lily pad and then he's like, let's go get a picture, so we swam out a bit and on our way back to the boat I just felt like a really sharp stinging sensation in my leg and I was like, oh, what just happened? And then I get back and I realized it was a jellyfish.
Well, I mean, cross that off the list of things I'm sure that you wanted to accomplish in your life. Get stung by a jellyfish. How I have to ask one more question after this. I promise I'll let you go. But I want to know, what was it like? How long did it sting and suck for? Like, how long was
Oh,
that process? I feel like it must be weeks.
yeah, it was bad. It was like, so that whole day and night was like a lot of pain. Um, and then the next day it was just like super sensitive to like touch or like put my clothes on or anything, just because it was like so sore and still stinging. And it was only like a week after where it stopped like really hurting. And I, to this day, still have this scar on my leg from it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
really small, but
still, yeah, wear it with pride. Don't take away from that. Wear that with pride. Um, Last question for you, and hopefully I don't have any follow-up questions, which I may. But last question for you. What is something that motivates and inspires you? And you can take this in whatever direction you want to take it in, personally, professionally on the ice, off the ice, however you want to answer this?
I would probably say challenging work because it lets me grow and I make mistakes from it, and making mistakes is the only way you learn. So I'd definitely say challenging work.
Oh, that's a great answer and a great spot to unfortunately have to say goodbye. But I wanted to say, Lexi, I am a huge fan of yours. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Dolphins organization. And I just wanted to say how thankful I am for you taking the time out of your busy schedule to hop on the show, to hang out, share your story, connect with me. Means a lot. I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so glad. And for Lexie Bertelsen, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been Rinkside Rundown. Cheers.